All right, we are recording. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for your patience. I am so sorry today's class seemed a little crazy at the start, but we're getting into it now. We again are making that sweet and sour chicken with broccoli, as well as we are making some black bean brownies. We're going to just kick it right off with our black bean brownies. And today's class is sponsored by WellSense Health Plan. So you will be able to access this recording on their social platforms and keep an eye out as well on their socials for any fun classes we have coming up. They will let you know when we have our next multilingual class as well. I know that was supposed to be today, but we're having some technical difficulties. So just keep an eye out for that. We'll go ahead and get right into our brownies. So this is a really simple brownie recipe that if you are someone that likes to have a little sweet treat after your savory dinner, this is perfect to have on deck. It is made of black beans. So black beans are going to offer us a really nice plant source base of protein, as well as some fiber as well. This is kind of it reminds me of a crock pot dump meal. We are going to dump everything into a blender. So it's going to be super simple. I do have my oven preheating behind me at 350, and I have my muffin tin lined with some cupcake liners. The recipe says you can spray your tin with some nonstick cook spray and try to go about it that way. I never trust that. I always feel like I'm fighting to get the muffins out. So I usually just try to do the liner, or you could definitely use like an 8x8 pan and make like a larger square of brownies and cut them to whatever size you would like. So the first step was to rinse and strain your canned beans. I went ahead and I strained them, but I put them back in the can. Rinsing and straining them is really helpful to remove that excess sodium that's going to be found in those canned beans. This can of beans in particular was no salt added, but I don't really need that extra liquid as well. All right. I have 1 can of beans. I have about a half a cup of brown sugar. You could definitely sub a different sweetener in this if you wanted to use some honey or maple syrup. I do think because the black beans are not super mild in flavor, they do have, I would say, a particular flavor, a particular smell. It is important to have that sweetener to kind of give it that brownie flavor with the chocolate. All right, so then we added our eggs, and now we're going to add some cocoa powder. If you like a richer chocolate, you could use the extra dark cocoa powder. Gonna check the chat here. My friend Deborah says she's excited about the black bean brownies. She's definitely gonna try this. She loves honey. How about the rest of you all? It adds a nice natural sweetness. I love cooking with honey, Deborah. I think that's one of my favorite sweeteners. I do like the brown sugar in this recipe. I'm adding a dash of vanilla. I have some homemade vanilla here. I think honey would be yummy, or even maple syrup in this. I love putting honey in my coffee though. I think that's my favorite way to enjoy it. This recipe is technically gluten-free because we are not cooking with any flour or any gluten-containing products. So if that is something that you are mindful of, this recipe is super easy because it's not including any flour. Ooh, someone asked in the chat, how about hot honey? You could definitely, if you like a little spicy chocolate, definitely. I personally probably wouldn't. I like hot honey. I'm more of a savory person. But you definitely could try that. I'm going to switch cameras. I have my blender here. I'm going to blend it. I'm going to mute myself so that way it's not super loud in the recording. So I'm going to mute myself now. So if you want to make sure, oops, you have all of your ingredients in here and blended thoroughly, you can take a scraper and kind of scrape down any bits that fly up. And blend it one more time, making sure all the ingredients are thoroughly blended. I'm going to mute myself again and I'm going to give it another blend. All right, we are thoroughly blended. Now, here's the fun part. If you like to add any mix-ins to your brownies, this is where you're going to add them. We are all done with blending. So if you like chocolate chips, if you like nuts, whatever you want to add, you're going to dump them right into the pitcher. I'm going to add some mini chocolate chips. I'm not even going to measure them. I'm measuring with my heart. I don't think you can have too many. And we have about just a little bit sitting on the surface. I also have the remaining bits of some walnuts from another recipe. I'm going to throw those in there as well. And again, we're not blending this again. The camera down a little bit. There we go. We're not blending this again. So we are going to take our spoon and we are going to give it a little mix. So that way it's incorporated. Perfect. We're going to pull our muffin tin back. We will switch camera views. There we are. And we are going to go ahead and fill our muffin tin. I have a little cookie scraper here. I like using this, but I also think because this is in a spouted blender, you could do this, which I think this is a nice way to kind of just dump it in there. Making sure you fill it about 3/4 of the way full. This does have a leavening agent. It has some baking powder, so it will rise, which is good. We want a fluffy brownie. I like a super dense, chewy brownie. How about you all? Do you like a cakey brownie or do you like a dense, chewy brownie? You can let me know in the chat or you're welcome to unmute yourself. Let's take a glance. Oh, I see chewy. Anna likes chewy. Ooh, Ashley has a good question. She loves honey and brown sugar. Is it possible to substitute the eggs? That's such a great question, Ashley, because I'm sure you're seeing it where you live as well. I know I'm in a different state, but egg prices have gotten very high. There was a rise in bird flu, and a lot of the chickens were not able to be producing safe eggs. So the cost of eggs have gone up, supply and demand. So if you are trying to substitute the eggs in this recipe, one of the things that comes to mind is you could use something called a flax egg. You could use some ground flax. I don't know the ratio off the top of my head, but you could definitely find with a quick Google search what the ratio is. I believe it's like 1 or 2 tablespoons to like 2 or 3 tablespoons of water. Hot water with some ground flax, mix it together, let it thicken, and that could be an egg substitute. It is really a nice substitute because essentially the egg is acting as a binder in their recipes. It is contributing some protein as well, so that is important to remember that it is adding some protein to the mix, but in terms of the actual function it's providing in the baked good, it is acting as that binder. So if we want to substitute for something like the flax egg, there's some other ideas. But I usually think flax egg is what comes to mind because that's a good vegan substitute. I look like I could get 1 or 2 muffins, so I'm going to grab 1 or 2 more muffin liners. I have some residual batter snuck out. All right. Making sure I'm scraping the sides here. one more muffin, and then we'll get these in the oven. They're going to bake for about 20 minutes. And then while these bake, we are going to prepare our delicious dinner of some chicken and broccoli with a fun twist. We're going to add some crispy ramen noodles for a topper. Sounds a little different, but it'll be fun. All right. I am going to put this in the sink, and then we'll put this in the oven for 20 minutes. I am going to just clean up any extra little batter drops. All right. These guys are going to go in the oven. If I had any extra chocolate chips, which I don't because I dumped them all in, I would do a little topping. So that way when they bake, there's some on the top. So they look nice and pretty, but I'm not really worried about that right now. You can see how you can still see some of the white inside of the liner. So that is about 3/4 of the way full. These are a really, really delicious option for a sweet treat post-meal, or honestly, a great quick breakfast. You are going to get some good protein and fiber from these to help you keep full longer. Also, some complex carbohydrates from the beans as well. A little bit of sweetness. You could cut back on that brown sugar if you wanted to, but I do think that the black beans have a taste associated with them. So I definitely wouldn't skimp on the sweetener too much because you do want these to be a sweeter treat. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the oven. Okay, so next we have our chicken and broccoli. Just checking the chat here. Oh, we have some really awesome dialogue going on here. Awesome. Okay, so no questions in the chat. Let's get started on our chicken and broccoli. I do have my ramen noodles already toasted. So we have them toasted here. You can see how some are a little bit darker than the others. Nice toasty, crispy flavor. We're going to prepare our chicken by giving it a good slice. Let me get my baking ingredients out of the way here. All right, let's get our chicken ready. I have my broccoli. I have my vinegar and soy sauce mixture. Got my garlic, orange juice, red pepper. All right, so we'll get going with our chicken. Does anyone in the audience regularly order Chinese food for one of those quick weeknight things where you don't really have a lot of time to cook? Does anyone order Chinese food often? I'm going to say I do maybe once every other month. Let's see if anyone in the chat has any. Ooh, okay, my friend Deborah says I do. All right. Ashley does. All right, so it's a common thing we all look to when we're looking for something delicious, tasty, and quick. Well, I challenge you, if you are someone who's regularly ordering out, I challenge you to try this recipe in replacing your takeout order. And if you don't love chicken and broccoli, you could substitute the chicken for some form of beef. You could even substitute it for shrimp. But super easy. We're working with some more low sodium ingredients here. So our sauces aren't going to be so heavy. And we are making this a really delicious, tasty meal. And it's super easy. So we, again, are going to get right into preparing our chicken. I do just have some skinless, boneless chicken breasts. I'm going to go ahead and dice these up. Cut them in half. These are pretty equal size. I have worked with chicken breasts that are monstrous at the top and really skinny on the bottom. You just want to cut your chicken to be in as equal pieces as you can achieve. I do know that sometimes the chicken breasts at the store are kind of crazy. So sometimes if you can't find good size chicken breast, I would maybe opt to do tenders. They're more uniform in size from what I have found. trying to get about 1-inch chunks here. There we go. It is a little bit difficult because again, these are not uniform shapes and we don't want to waste any pieces. So however you cut them, as long as they're somewhat uniform in size, they don't have to necessarily be the same in shape. All right. We have our chicken prepared. I am going to set my chicken touching dishes in the sink and I'm going to give my hands a good wash with warm soapy water for 20 seconds because I am handling raw poultry. I do not want to be touching things in my kitchen and spreading any potential bacteria. So again, working with raw meats and poultry, wash your hands for 20 seconds, warm soapy water. All right, now I have clean hands. I'm going to get my chicken over here to the side. I'm going to check the chat here. I see we have a couple messages. Oh, my friend Deborah says when she gets Chinese or Thai, she tries to make it healthy. Yeah, absolutely. And I think they have a lot of really great vegetable-based dishes. What I find in my experience is it's the sauces that can creep up on you. Those sauces can be filled of lots of delicious, but also very high in sodium, maybe fat and sugar, which again are very delicious and enjoyed in moderation. But it's super empowering when you can make something just as delicious at home with a little bit more health conscious choices. So we have a pan here. I'm going to turn it up to about medium heat. And we're going to cook our chicken. And then we're going to set it aside. We are going to add some orange juice to the plate. We already have our sauce kind of pre-made. We just need to let this heat up. I'm going to be working with avocado oil today. If you have some olive oil, canola oil, whatever vegetable-based oil you have. I'm going to move my ingredients to the side here. If you are making your muffins along with me or you're just watching, make sure you keep an eye on them. Everyone's oven is different, especially if you live at different altitudes. So you just want to make sure you keep an eye on them. And my pan is getting hot. All right, I'm gonna feel for some heat. Let's go ahead and add our chicken. My pan is a little bit larger than the burner, and the burner kind of hangs off to the side a little bit. So sometimes my heat source is a little inconsistent. So mine might take a little bit longer to cook. All right. Awesome. We got that rolling. We're gonna brown our chicken. I am going to get a plate, a clean plate. So once this is all browned, We can put it in. I do already have my broccoli already cut and diced. I bought them like this. If you are using heads of broccoli, you want to go ahead and dice them, make sure they're washed. We want sizes, bite-sized pieces that are similar to the size of the chicken. When you are working with a skillet, when you want something to brown and get that caramelization, that darker color, you want to make sure things are spread evenly on your pans, that you don't have a lot of overcrowding. You also want to make sure that you are allowing that moisture to escape. So you can kind of see through the camera, we have some steam coming up. That's the moisture on the chicken. And as the moisture evaporates, when it comes in contact with the heat, it is browning the chicken. Some of this chicken is a little browned. It's probably hard to tell. Some of it's just white, but that browning color is some good flavor. We can choose to somewhat saute, sear our chicken and steam it. So we could even put a lid on top to help capture that steam to keep the heat in there, to cook the chicken as well. I like to do that sometimes when I want to make sure something is fully cooked through. So I might do that here after we get a good sear, but right now we're still kind of just letting that chicken get up to temp. I have about 9 minutes left on my brownies. I'm going to go ahead and take a peek just to see how they're doing. Brownies are looking good. They're starting to rise. Trying to get my chicken flipped so the parts that have not hit this yet will hit this. All right, you can see my chicken is starting to turn white. If you're someone who is new to cooking chicken, a really good way to kind of use your eyes to see if it's cooking or if it's done to cooking, you can see how it turned from a light pink to more of a whiter color. When you are cooking chicken, and again, you're not sure if it's done, you can cut your chicken. This is already in smaller chunks, so you can cut a smaller chunk, but you can cut your chicken in half, check the inside of it, and see if it still has that pink color. If it still has that pink color, it needs to keep cooking through. If you have a thermometer, which is a great investment to have in your kitchen. I have one. I think I got it from Amazon. It was maybe $10, $20. It is electric. You take this little prod and you put it in the chicken. It will tell you the temperature. It's a great gadget if you are new to cooking meats. But chicken, we want to cook chicken to about 165 degrees Fahrenheit at a minimum temperature to make sure any potential bacteria that ever came in contact with the meat is now killed with heat. So that way our food is safe to cook and consume. All right. I can see my chicken still needs some time. I can see it's getting some good color. I am going to go ahead and place a lid on it to help capture that steam, so that way it steams as well as it's searing. In my sauce bowl to the side here, I have my rice vinegar, my low sodium soy sauce, and I went ahead and added my cornstarch. When I made this, it was a few minutes before class, so my starchy addition settled to the bottom. So I'm just going to give it a good stir. Try not to stir too carefully so I don't lose all the sauce, but you can see it's kind of sitting on the bottom. You might have to stir it again right before you add it, but giving it another stir, you can see how it incorporates really nicely into the other liquids. You don't have a lid for your pan, you can also use some tin foil and fit it to your pan as well. Check on the chat here. See if we have a message. Oh, my friend Deborah says nonstick pans are the best. I do really like working with nonstick pans when I am doing a large batch of something. I do have some stainless steel. Stainless steel can be a little tricky if you are not a patient cook. Stainless steel, you want to make sure you heat up, then you add your oil, allow your oil to get hot, then let your food cook, and then you want your food to sit and kind of get that sear before you start to stir it. So it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of equipment to have in your kitchen. But if you're not a patient person, sometimes it can be a little finicky. All right, my chicken's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and add it to my bowl. All right, so we have our pan back. We're going to go ahead and add our orange juice. I just have some normal, I think it was honestly the Aldi brand orange juice here. I have no pulp. I'm sure pulp would be fine if you don't mind that. A little bit of pulp. All right. We're going to add our broccoli. Making sure our heat is turned up. We have about 3 minutes and 40 seconds left on our black bean brownies. Turn my heat up a little bit more. It's almost like we are steaming it in some orange juice, getting some delicious flavor here. Getting a new spoon. I did use my older spatula to touch the raw chicken, so I am opting for a new spoon. I do not want to cross-contaminate. Gonna put that spoon actually in the sink. I'm actually gonna throw on my lid to capture that steam to help steam it. After we get this to a good spot, we are going to add our vinegar mixture. We're also going to add some garlic, and I am using a cheat tonight. I am using some pre-minced garlic. This is always something nice to have on hand when you just don't feel like mincing. And I'm going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper for a little bit of heat, as well as a little bit of honey to give it some sweetness. Back in here, I can see this is getting a little bit more vibrant in color, cooking through really nice. This is quite a lovely smell with the orange juice. All right, again, I'm going to give my vinegar mixture with cornstarch just a quick mix. We have 20 seconds left on our timer for our muffins. So I'm going to go ahead and add my sauces. Let's do our mixture here. We will go ahead and add our garlic. There's our timer. We have about a tablespoon of garlic. About 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm going to measure with my eyeballs. Perfect. That's going to give it that really nice glazed taste and feeling in our mouth with taking a bite. That really nice, like emulsified sauce. And we're going to give it a little bit of salt. My electric grinder here. All right, now it's the fun part. We're going to mix. I love pairing broccoli with a really nice sauce like this. I think broccoli absorbs sauce really well without getting too mushy or squishy. Broccoli is a really lovely non-starchy veggie that's going to offer us a plethora of vitamins and minerals. It's going to give us fiber that's going to help us stay full longer. It's going to give us a vitamin known as vitamin C, which is really important in supporting our immune health and function. I'm sure you've all heard of vitamin C packets when you're sick. We don't always need to take them in that form. Just making sure we're eating a well-balanced diet of lots of fruits and vegetables will be sure to help us get enough vitamin C. I am going to go ahead and add my chicken. This sauce smells phenomenal. If you would like to build a more balanced plate, you could pair this with a whole grain. You could pair this with some brown rice, some quinoa. You could do some farro, whatever whole grain comes to mind. In this case, we are going to top it with a little bit of some crispy ramen, which is not a whole grain, but that's okay. We only want to strive to make half of our grains whole grains at the very least in our diet. So it's okay to get carbs from non-whole grain sources, but we do want to add some carbohydrates from that crispy ramen in order to give us a more balanced meal, because we are getting some protein from the chicken, we're getting some fat from the sauce and the oils that we're cooking with, and we are getting a wonderful serving of vegetables with our broccoli, but we also want to get some carbs as well, and we're going to get that from our ramen, as well as we'll get that from our brownie if we have our brownie post dinner. I'm going to grab our brownies. Oh boy, these look absolutely delicious. You can see that they are a little crinkle topped. All right, let me grab something to put the brownies down on. I will show you all a trick. If you are baking brownies, or even a cake, or muffins, whatever you're baking, and you're not sure if your brownies or your baked good is cooked through, you can take a, this is not a flosser, what is this? A toothpick, I'm so sorry. You can take a toothpick and you can kind of slowly insert it. And if it comes out, like almost like it looks like batter, then it's not done. If it comes out and it looks just like a little bit of chocolate residue, like this is just a little chocolate residue, I know it's hard to see, then they're cooked through. If you dipped it in and a bunch of batter came out, you would know that they did not cook through. Yeah, that's just some chocolate residue. It's almost as if like that would be what is stuck on the wrapper. Oh, Deborah says her mom taught her that trick as well. Yes, that is a great trick. I think my mom actually taught me that as well. And as your brownies sit and cool, they will do this phenomenon called a carryover cook, where they are, they were at a really high temperature when they came out of the oven, and they're still technically cooling as they're at this high temperature. They're still cooking, and they're going to begin to cool. So they will set. Ooh, my sauce is looking really thick and delicious. I don't know if you can kind of see on the bottom there. The smells are really lovely. I think that orange juice is going to be the secret sauce to this. I know in my house, we like, not me, my husband likes some more spice. So if you're someone who likes more spice as well, you can actually add a little bit of the red pepper flakes as a topper. I'm going to let this cook for about another minute or so to make sure the chicken is fully cooked through. I'm going to let my black bean muffins sit here for a couple minutes to cool. If you would like to enjoy your muffins with some form of nut butter, you can, but I am going to actually grab a few raspberries from the fridge. I'm going to clean them, and I'm actually going to enjoy those with my muffin. So I will get those out to show you. All right, I have my raspberries here. I'm going to turn off the heat for my chicken and broccoli. Let's go ahead and plate our chicken and broccoli, and then we will get our muffin ready. So I don't know about you, but I like to have my dessert ready for me whenever I'm done with my dinner. I'm a finished dinner, where's my sweet treat kind of person. My husband, on the other hand, likes to wait. Or if you're someone that doesn't like sweet treats at all, that's totally fine. These muffins, I think, are a super wonderful snack, post-meal sweet treat, or even breakfast. Again, that sneaky addition of beans is phenomenal. A great way to add more fiber and protein to your diet if you're someone who struggles for eating in the morning, which I definitely fall into that category. This is looking beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and grab our ramen topper. Move this out of the way. Because we have some soft cook things here, right? We have our chicken that, isn't as soft as our broccoli, but these things are both put it in a lovely sauce. But we want to give it a good crispy texture, right? I did. I know a couple people hopped on late. We just kind of crinkled up some ramen noodles, toasted them. No oil, no nothing. Okay. Look at this beautiful masterpiece. This looks awesome. I'm going to check the chat here. Oh, Gloria says toasted sesame seeds would be a good topper also. Yes, it would, Gloria. I agree. I think that would be a perfect topper. Very much so agree. I have my beautiful little muffin here. I'm going to put my raspberries on my plate. I definitely cleaned up more than this, almost the size of my brownie, but I can share with my family. All right, let's do our taste test of our chicken and broccoli. And again, you can see how the inside of my chicken is fully cooked through because of that white color. If you could see some pink color, you definitely would need to cook your chicken longer. I want to get a good bite here with a little bit of everything. So some broccoli, and I want to make sure I have my ramen on there. All right, first bite. Mm. It's a little spicier than I thought it would be. Not in a bad way. I will be honest with you all. I think it needs a little bit of salt. I think I had more than I like more broccoli and chicken than the sauce ratio. So I need a little extra sodium. So I'll do another bite. I did a little salt and pepper on top. That's the best part about adding salt and pepper at the end because it's right directly on the food. So when you take a bite, your taste buds are going to sense it, get that sodium flavor, send that signal to your brain that you're getting that salt without having to oversalt your food. Perfect. The ramen noodles are interesting. It reminds me of a crouton. That sauce is really good. I challenge you, if you have not made your own Chinese food yet, you need to try this recipe. Super simple, really nutrient dense. Now we need to do our brownie. So I will show you all. Let's do a little brownie prep. I'm going to get a fork. My brownie is still a little warm. And don't tell my mom I'm having my dessert before I finish my dinner, but I think she'd be okay. She'd be okay as long as I shared with her. All right, what do we think about that? Look how beautiful that looks. You didn't even know there's beans in there, huh? So perfect. I'm actually gonna kind of mush it up. I know it looked so nice. I'm gonna mush my berry. Sprinkle my berry around. I think this just, the picture we have on our website for this recipe had raspberries on it, and I've been thinking about it ever since. All right, here we go. First bite, best bite. Mm. Yeah, that's a good brownie. I bet you could trick someone that this is a normal brownie and that there is not beans in it. I mean, it is primarily made of beans. Look at that beautiful, colorful bite. I know it's a little dark because the sun's going down. Yeah, that's delicious. I would recommend keeping your brownies in a air-locked container or in a bag. They'll probably be good for about 3 to 4 days before they start to get really hard. All right. I just want to thank you all so much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording now to allow for some questions from folks in case they don't want to be on camera, but I do just want to thank WellSense for sponsoring today's class. Thank you all so much for coming. And I will end the recording now.